Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm in a familiar spot. There's a lot of people that park here to unload their snow machines in the winter. In the summer, a lot of people like to camp right here. It's still close to the highway. You're right next to the river. It's a beautiful spot, but it's very busy. Now, this is just a day trip. Hopefully next weekend I'll be able to come out for an overnighter, depending on the weather. If not, possibly the weekend after. I'm out today just to check a few things out. And I decided I still have my short sled. The new tent is bigger and heavier than the old tent. I'm carrying the cot now, bigger and heavier. I haven't had the opportunity to buy a bigger sled. I may have to do 2 trips to get my stuff to wherever I'm going. So I figured I would do an easy run. When I come camping, I'm going to camp, but instead of camping here near the water where everybody coming in and out, just around the corner here, there's a small trail that people use in the summer, but nobody ever goes down it in the wintertime. I'm just going to go a short ways down that trail, and there's a little clearing there right almost in the middle of the trail, and I'm going to set up there. For today, we're just here to have lunch. I have a couple things I want to check out, and I'm probably going to spend a little bit of time cutting a little bit of firewood so that I've got that much less to do when I come camping. I'll cut some up and I'll try and stash it somewhere. So here's the little clearing. I think I can get the tent in here. The beginning of the trail is right there. Like, I can see the water from here. I'm not far. It'll be easy to get to, but at least I'm not in the wide open where anybody pulling in is going to see me right away. I'll at least have a little bit of privacy. You will hear the highway noise because I'm not far off the highway. But like I said, today I'm going to have a bit of lunch and I'm going to cut up some firewood so that when I do come out camping, I've got a little stash of firewood already here. It'll be that much less for me to do when I come and set up the tent. And I brought something along that I want to test out, so we'll do that in the meantime. I brought the snowshoes, but with all the melting we've had going on, there's maybe 6 inches of snow. I don't need them. There's plenty of dead standing around. So I'm going to clear an area here, and I'm going to go and cut a little bit of wood and get things started. So this shovel is almost 4 feet long, and the tent, I believe, is 12 feet wide. I've got 3 shovel widths this way, This way I probably have more than that. I think the tent will fit nicely in here. Now, I know I don't have the tent today. I'm not going to be setting it up. But I figured while I was shoveling, if I clean out the area, I looked at the weather network. They're not calling for any snow this week. If it doesn't snow, my area is already clear. If it does snow, I only have a little bit to remove. Work a bit now to save work later. But now, I'm really warm. I'm going to get this jacket off. So there is no shortage of firewood in this spot. I see a dead leaned over tree there, a dead standing there. There's another one over there. There's a lot of trees that are fallen over and standing back there. So cutting the firewood isn't going to be a problem. Now, when I was trying to decide what saw to bring today, I didn't know where I was going to end up. I was actually planning on going to where I was last weekend. But I decided I would bring both saws. I brought the Agawa Boreal 24 and the Silky Katana Boy 500. I didn't know what kind of trees I was going to get into for cutting. I like the Agawa for the smaller trees. I like the big boy, the Katana Boy, for the bigger ones. And I figured if I only find bigger ones, the Katana Boy will help me cut through it faster. And let's face it, I'm not getting any younger. So this is dead. A lot of the bark is gone towards the top and some of it's coming off down here. So I think this one will be a good one to start with. Just going to move you because I think I'm going to drop it that way. And I really don't want to hit the camera. So I've got two good sized logs here, and I've got the top part of that tree that's over there. It's a little smaller, but I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to light the stove and get ready to make some tea and make some lunch. I've got a nice spot to cut the firewood right behind where the camera is, so I'm going to get the fire lit, get that going. And then while that's going, I can keep an eye on it and be right there cutting the firewood. But I think I'm going to have to take off another layer. Whew! It's getting warm. Wasn't supposed to be this warm today. So today I decided I would use the Ohuhu stove. I haven't used this in a long time. There's the base. Got the bottom grate. It's got a gap here so that once you get it lit, your air comes through your bottom holes and it goes in between these walls and gets super heated. And then there's all kinds of holes at the top here. As your fire is burning, when the smoke rises, the gases that are in that smoke get reignited by the superheated air. So the super hot air reignites those gases and you get basically a gasification burn. Now, because I knew I was going to be busy cutting wood and doing other things, I cheated. This stove I found works really well with wood pellets. So we're just gonna fill it up with the wood pellets. Keeping it just below those air holes. Now I'm gonna put the cover on. And I brought, going through my gear the other day, I've got all kinds of different things for lighting the fire. I bought these at Dollarama a long time ago. But if I don't start using them, I'm going to end up having them forever. So we'll do this the nice and easy way. Get it lit with a lighter. And I'm going to throw some twigs in there just to get a good little fire going. To make sure those pellets get lit and going good. So while we're waiting for that to burn down, I found this stump here that was left right by this tree, and it's perfect to lean my wood on so that I can cut it. This is fairly small, so I can use the Agawa Boreal 24. And the nice thing about this is I've already measured this handle is the perfect length for what goes into my wood stove. Okay, stove seems to be burning good. Let's flip the pot supports to the inside. Because that's the only way that it'll hold the Stanley pot. Now I mentioned earlier I brought both saws. I prefer the Katana Boy when the logs start to get too big. And as with the Boreal, I've pre-measured from the tip to this second bolt here is the perfect length for my stove again. And with the Silky, I can use a two-handed grip. So I'm not wearing out just the one shoulder. I can get both shoulders into it. This log is a little bit punky on the outside, but the center is good and solid. It'll do just fine in the wood stove. drop in the tea. Gotta love that chugga. I've flipped out the pot supports because now it's going to have to hold the fire maple pot. And it'll be way more sturdy with the supports out. What's for lunch? Again, I knew I was going to be busy. World of Flavors, President's Choice, Thai soup. Love these pull tab cans. Now we'll let that heat up and we'll be ready for lunch. I've mentioned before, with that tent, the pegs that come with it, they're just not sturdy enough for frozen ground. As soon as you try and bang them in a little bit, they bend. And I've been trying to come up with a different alternative of something I can use. Last weekend I was watching a video, Doug over at Pine Tree Line. He just bought the One Tigris Rock Fortress and he was setting it up and said the same thing. He didn't like the pegs it comes with. They bend way too easily. Now, he has an ice fishing hut, so he decided to try and use the stakes from the ice fishing hut. I don't ice fish. I've gone through the ice about 3 times, and after the 3rd time I said enough is enough. As a young kid I was playing with, actually, Anne and her brother, and they used to live 2 doors down. And we were playing by the river, and we were breaking off chunks of ice. Only the chunk of ice I broke off happened to be the one that I was standing on. And I went floating down the river. That was an adventure. Then there's a couple of other times I've fallen through the ice in puddles and stuff. And then I was out with a friend of mine. We had to cross a frozen pond. And as we were crossing, I heard the ice crack. So I stopped. Told him behind me, slide your feet back, nice and slow, and just go back the way you came. And I will do the same, and hopefully we can get off the ice. Well, he panicked. He jumped backwards. The second he did that, I was underwater. He froze. Did absolutely nothing to help me. He was in shock. He was just standing there, didn't know what to do. I had to wrestle my way out of that water by myself. Fully dressed in winter gear, and I am not a strong swimmer. And that was enough to keep me off the ice for good. No more ice for this guy. The only way you'll ever see me cross some ice is if I know for a fact that that is only knee deep. But since then, I just don't do ice. We have an agreement. I don't walk on it. It doesn't throw me in the water. That being said, I never even thought of the ice hut stakes. So I went looking at our local Canadian Tire, a set of 4, $49.99. I thought, 4. I need 10 to go around the tent, and 10 more for the guy lines. That's a whole lot of money. That's more than what I paid for the tent. I went looking on Amazon, and I found some for $18.95 or something like that. And here they are. I wrote down the measurements. Give me 1 second, I'll get the paper out. Yeah, the handle is 4.5 inches across, or 115 millimeters. The height from top to bottom, 7 3/4 inches, or 197 millimeters. And then just the teeth, that's 3 1/4 inch, or 83 millimeters. I figure if they go through ice, they should go through frozen ground. So I brought one out with me to try it out today and see how well it goes. If it looks like it's going to hold, that's what I'm going to be using in the tent next weekend. Let's get to the ground and see if this works. So here's the ice stake. Here's the frozen ground. Oh yeah, that'll hold the tent, no problem. Beautiful. So that's great. Those are going to be perfect. Now, like I said, the ones at Canadian Tire, $49.95 plus tax. So there's 4 in a set. If I want some for everything, I need 20. That's 5 sets. That's $250 plus tax. I'd be looking at about $300, which is pretty much what I paid for the tent. That's crazy. These ones are $18.98. With the tax, it comes up to about 20 bucks for 1 set. So I can buy 5 sets for $100. That's a whole lot better. And I can use them in all kinds of different situations. I only ordered a couple of sets, just enough to hold down the tent. For the guy lines, I'm going to have to use the stakes. But now that I know they work, I'm willing to order the rest of the sets I'm going to need. Perfect. Now it looks like the soup is good and hot. So let me get that ready and we'll have some lunch. Get that off the heat. Brought some crackers. I didn't bother setting up the chair. Because I figured I've got logs. And today is mostly a work day. Not going to have a whole lot of time to sit. Yep, that's good. They have a few different types of these soups and they're all good. Soup was delicious. Now I'm enjoying a cup of tea. Then we're going to get back at cutting up some firewood. I brought President's Choice dipped in chewy chocolate chip granola bars. I brought one to have as my dessert after lunch. But before I crack into this, I want to send a big thank you to Doug over at Pine Tree Line. It was his idea for those steaks. I don't use an ice hut, so I never would have even thought of it. But I think it's going to be a fantastic idea. They look like they're going to work very well. I'm anxious to try them with the tent and find out. So thanks, Doug. Really appreciate the great idea. Glad I caught that video. Go ahead and check him out on YouTube at Pine Tree Line. He's got some really good content. But now, I'm going to dig into this, finish up my cup of tea, start cutting some wood. So here's all that wood I dragged out, that's all cut up. Now I just got to split it and put it away. Enjoying another cup of tea. And I've just been throwing a few twigs into the stove just to keep it warm so that if the tea cools down, I've got a spot to warm it up. But now that I've been playing with the saws, the axe is jealous. So let's start splitting some of this. I'm going to take some of this wood and I'm going to go hide it. There's just a nice hump in the snow back here. So I'm just going to put it on the other side of that so that when I set up the tent, I don't have very far to go to get my firewood in here. So I'm just warming up one last cup of tea. I'm going to finish splitting up this little pile of wood, store it in the back there. I think that's going to give me plenty for an overnight stay either next weekend or the weekend after. I checked the weather network. They're not calling for any rain or snow this week, so we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope it all works out. But I want to thank you all for coming along. It's always a pleasure having you with me. It's always a great time when we're out here in the woods. I'm glad I got to get a bunch of prep work done for our next trip. I had a nice lunch. Now we know that those steaks are going to work. Can't wait to try them on our next trip. But I'm going to end things here. You don't need to watch me splitting wood and moving it around. It's just not that exciting. So if you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. And if you're going to do that, you may as well hit the notification bell. When you do, there'll be a drop-down menu. In the menu, select all. That'll let you know whenever we put out a new video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.